OSO, you've been Calm, Cool, and Collected. What you got, brother?
So I've been meaning to ask, how come how can eight people how can eight people scoop up just to just to get it out when Noah is that old? When Noah is that old and eight people cannot cannot do cannot.
So when you're talking about the animals waste material, meaning that they're pooping, you got eight people on there for about 20,000 animals working in shifts. That wouldn't be a problem at all. You scoop it and then you throw it out.
What about the fatigue? That's the thing. You can't get rid of waste that easily if you have fatigue, and eight people cannot cover 20,000 plus animals, and the science would kill Noah and his family.
Well, so when the Bible says that there was a window and it talks about it being a cubit high or something like that, but the way it's described, it can be, excuse me, it can be a one window, but that's a window. There can be vents throughout the ark. So you can have ports throughout the ark that's not classified as a window. And the window, the way it's described, we don't know. It could have been a window that was 1 meter high, but went around the entire length of the ark. We don't know that either. So there wouldn't be this methane gas buildup problem because clearly it's going to be ventilated and clearly it's going to be small animals. You're not going to bring in big animals. We can deduce this because the whole purpose of them having the animals on the ark was to reproduce when they got off. So clearly you're not going to bring in fully mature elephants on the ark because they're not going to reproduce when they get off because they're already mature, right? You want the adolescent elephant, one, because it eats less, two, because it poops less, and three, because when it gets off the ark, you want it to be sexually mature for a long time so that it can reproduce. So clearly, Noah brought adolescent animals onto the ark. And so you can have a ventilation system on the ark. You can have the wall built like this with a curved roof over this right here. The air would still go out and around, and it would still fit with the description of the ark of only having one window. So when people hear one window in the ark, they assume like this is an AI image. It has a window over here, it has a window over there, and it looks like it has like a door or something right there. So clearly, it's just an AI image. But the ark could have had one solid window going around the entirety of the top part right there. That could have been a ventilation thing.
Where does it say in the Bible that you take young animals? Where? Because you're
This
gonna to the Bible if you're saying that, because it doesn't specify the age of the animals.
Well, no, but I can deduce logically that if the whole reason for the animals to get on the ark was to reproduce, right? Because God said He was going to save mankind and He was going to save the animal kind through the ark, right? So therefore, the whole purpose of them getting on the ark was to reproduce when they got off the ark. And would you agree with that?
Yes, but that's already eisegesis.
Okay, so if you agree with that, then I think you don't have to concede that God is real, but I think you would agree that if God was real, He was clearly be smarter than us. So if I can deduce that you don't want to bring adolescent or old, or you don't, excuse me, you don't want to bring old animals or adult animals on the ark for the same reasons, I think that God could deduce that too. So clearly, I think it's reasonable to deduce that animals of young age would have been brought on the ark. You would not have brought adults and you wouldn't have brought old animals on the ark because clearly they're not going to reproduce. So I think that that's a fair deduction to make from the evidence, right?
But then again, animals, as in other eisegesis that I found, can be can be adult animals, and that's where it conflicts, because you have your young animals, and some people like
If
preserve
you,
adult.
let me ask you a question. If you were God and you were going to destroy the world with a flood and you wanted the animal kind to be saved, for reproduction when they got off the ark, would you tell Noah to take old animals on the ark?
First of all, if
No.
I were a god, why would I
Brother,
flood the
hold
earth?
on,
Would just be,
little.
I'm
I need you
getting
to
there. I'm
follow,
getting there. I'm getting
little. Brother, I just need you to follow the hypothetical, right? The hypothetical doesn't mean you agree with it. It's just a hypothetical. So I just need you to follow it, okay? So if you were God, the question's not you wouldn't do it if you was God. That's not the hypothetical. The hypothetical was if you were God and you're going to destroy the earth with the flood. So please don't say I wouldn't do that because that's not following the hypothetical. If you were God and you're going to destroy the world with a flood and you wanted to save the animals on an ark, would you have Noah collect really old animals or adult animals and put them on the ark? Or would you have him take adolescents?
well, based on the Bible, any age of animal will do.
All right,
I'm
little,
imagining.
I'm going to give you one more opportunity. I don't need you to rephrase the question and then answer according to the Bible because that's not what I ask you. I didn't ask you according to the Bible. I know what the Bible says. I'm asking Lil. I'm asking you personally as yourself. If you're God and you're going to destroy the world with a flood and you want Noah to save the animals on an ark so that they can reproduce when they get off the ark, would you tell him to bring adolescents or adults on the ark?
Well, I bring adolescents, but not very young, babyish like animals.
Well, clearly, yeah, I would agree with that. You're not going to have them sucking milk on the ark. That's too young. So adolescence is what I claimed. I think not babies, but adolescents. So if we can figure that out, I think God can figure that out. So it's a reasonable deduction to make that Adam clearly didn't take older animals on the ark.
But that's the thing, though. Animal in the Bible itself, it doesn't reference age, so there's clearly a lot of deductions and inferences you can make. And the thing is, if there's only one window, because
But you have to suspend reason now, little in an effort. This is the problem that I have, is you have to suspend reason in an effort to now make it implausible for you to believe. You have to suspend your reason. That's not what we do with anything. Would you do this with any other faction in life? Would you suspend your reason in an effort for you not to believe in it? You need to contend with the argument. You don't suspend your logic or your reason in an effort to say, I don't believe it. Well, the Bible doesn't say their age, so clearly they could have been old. You lose. Ha ha ha. Come on, man. We got to use logic. We got to use reasoning, right? Behemoth, the book of Job talks about Behemoth. Behemoth is a sauropod dinosaur. Okay, it's probably something like a brachiosaurus or something. Clearly, Noah didn't take a full-grown brachiosaurus on the ark. Clearly, it would have been an adolescent. And you have to get rid of your deductive reasoning and your cognitive abilities to think clearly in an effort to try to make it say something that you wanted to say to try to win an argument or to continue to believe something that you just don't want to believe it. You're making an excuse not to believe it, brother.
do you think some Christians lack critical thinking? Because critical thinking is the act of practice or thinking critically as by applying reasoning and questioning assumptions in order to solve problems, evaluate
Yeah.
information, insert biases, etc.
Do some yeah, of course it's not having the ability or lack of ability to critical think or having the not being able to critically think. I can't talk today. That doesn't just fall on Christians or non-Christians or anybody. Just like I gave you an example, you're suspending your ability to critically think when you're saying that they had to be old animals that Noah took on the ark, and you're not a Christian.
So tell me when it says it doesn't. Tell me where it says you, because you're making an inference out of the
I'm
age.
making an educated argument, brother, but I'm not going to keep. I'm not. If this is what's keeping you from Christianity, then I'm going to dust my feet, like the Bible says. I'm going to share Christ with you all day long because I want you to be saved. But if this is what's hanging you up on it, is the fact that the Bible doesn't talk about how old the animal is, because if the Bible went through every minute detail about every single story, it would be too big for us to read. So clearly we have to use, thank you for the stickers, guys. I appreciate the support. So clearly we have to use deductive reasoning, right? And our cognitive abilities to think, to problem solve, to know that if I can figure this out, God can figure this out. And Noah's not going to take a full grown brachiosaurus on the ark. It's ridiculous on its face. So, if this is where you're stuck, then I'm just going to move on, okay, brother? I asked you if you had an additional argument you wanted to bring up other than this. So I think that our time has kind of run out.
Yeah, so when thinking about this stuff, how do you think you should
I can't hear you, man. You got too much background noise now.
do you refer to your own eisegesis, your own pastors to do this? Because the thing is, you have to
Brother,
convince
I
me.
can't. I'm afraid of what? What am I afraid of?
Do you do you think that whenever someone says maybe the animals were old in the ark and your
All
evidence
right, brother. I got you, Lou. I appreciate you coming, man, but I'm just not going to do the animals are old anymore. Okay, man. Thanks for coming, though. I really do appreciate the conversation. I do, but I'm just not going to do the animals were old anymore. It's just it's run its course, and that's ridiculous.